Shabbat Shalom. Oh, that's having a long day. If you were here last night, I'm going to repeat some of what I said, but I have an addition, okay? So don't feel like, there's no reason whatsoever to listen, okay? I have an addition to last night too. I want to look, let's see if I can find it. I want to look at one verse. I mean, there's so much in this Torah. What you could talk about the creation of the world. You could talk about the creation of human beings, of Adam and Eve, of the fall, of the of all of the begots that are later in the Torah portion. I just want to talk about Cain and Abel and one verse. The verse is Lama Charalach Vayomer Adonai El Cain. God says to Cain, "Why are you upset? Why are you upset?" Cain's offering was not accepted. Was not accepted. This is another moment, by the way, I'd say not great parenting, okay? There's not enough compassion there, okay? Why are you upset? Why are you upset? Your offering was just rejected by the Lord of the universe. But anyways, why are you upset, right? Why is your face down? Halo im tetiv se'et. Okay, this is one of the most confusing verses that's ever written. Israelis, even if you know modern Hebrew, it doesn't really help you. Halo im tetiv se'et. If you do good, se'et has something to do with uplift. Okay, it may mean that your sin will be borne, because in the Bible, sin is sort of something that somebody can carry for you, or if you do good, then you're going to be lifted up. Who knows? V'im lo tetiv, but if you don't do good, lapeta chatat rovetz, sin is crouching at the petach, at the opening. Ve'elecha teshukato, its desire is for you. Ve'ata, but atatim sholbo, you can overcome it. Okay, you can overcome it. So the rabbis asked the following. I mean, there's a lot to understand here. What in the world is this talking about? But they want to know, lepeta chatat rovetz, sin is sort of crouching. Where is at the opening? Petach is opening. The opening to what? Right? Where is this door that sin is crouching? The rabbis have three answers. Maimonides says, the Yetzer Hara is produced in the individual at its birth, as it says, Lapeta Chatat Rovetz. The Yetzer Hara, okay, is produced at birth. So where is the door? The door is the birth canal. The door is the womb, right? And Maimonides is saying that sin, the sin is the Yetzer Hara. And by the way, where is sin in that conception? It's within you. Now, this is not original sin, okay, which you can't get out of, right? But because the Torah itself says, Vatatim shobo, you can overcome it. So the rabbis say that we have a Yetzer Hara and a Yetzer HaTov. We have two inclinations. We have an evil inclination and an inclination for good. And the moment that you start coming into the world, you have to start wrestling with your evil inclination. And the rabbis say that this is a lifelong task, right? For us to control our emotions rather than be controlled by them. Okay? Testify. Okay? This is a lifelong task. The second interpretation is from Ramban, Nachmanides, not Maimonides, this one is Nachmanides, who says, at the door of your house, your sin crouches to cause you to stumble in all of your paths. So where is sin according to Nachmanides? It's not inside of you. It's not at the birth canal waiting for you as soon as you come into the world. It is the door of your house. It's the door of your house. And this may be one of the reasons that we put a mezuzah on the door, right? That the Torah has us put a mezuzah on the door so that when we walk out of the house, we are always meditating on God. As we sit at home and walk on the way, we should be thinking of God's words. We want to, because sin is waiting for us out in the world. By the way, Nachmanides was a mystic. He was a Kabbalist. And so you might even describe sin for Nachmanides as being like a demon. It's not internal, it's an external thing that is waiting to trip you up in the world. It's billboards, it's internet ads, it's algorithms, it's could be other people, God forbid, right? But there are things which are waiting to trip you up. There are external forces waiting there for you, and you as you leave your house, right? Or by the way, it could also be as you come into your house, right? Those things you need to wrestle with those and overcome them. The third explanation is from Rabbeinu Bachya. It's also an explanation brought by Rashi, which says, if you do not improve your deeds, you will find sin crouching at the door of your grave. Okay? That is to say, dun dun dun, right? Play music. That is to say that as soon as you leave this world, you'll be punished in the world of souls. So for yeah, you don't like that one. Rabbeinu Bachya, right? But by the way, I try to bring this one because we're taught in Hebrew school, not in this Hebrew school, but Jews somehow believe that because Christians believe in an afterlife, that Jews don't have an afterlife. It's not true. Okay, here it is. We have an afterlife. Okay, by the way, the afterlife is very helpful for the rabbis because we live in a world where bad things happen to good people. We watch bad people flourish. Insert comments there. Okay, we watch bad people flourish. We watch good people struggle and not be rewarded. And for the rabbis, one answer to that is we know, but we believe in God's justice, and it's all going to be made right in the end. And so if you are a person, none of you are, but if you are a person with lots of sins, right, then that's waiting there at the door of your grave, and in the next world, it's all going to be lined up against you, and you're going to be held to account. And if you're a good person, then not, right? But these are now three different doors, right? Three different doors. The birth canal as we come into this world, the doors of our lives, of our homes, and the door as we leave the world, and different conceptions of where sin is and what it is. So that I said last night. Okay? I want to bring you one more that I think it's an unbelievable reading of the Cain and Abel story. Okay, and this one comes from a teacher named the Malbim, otherwise called the Levush. He lived in Central Europe in the 19th century. And I want you to listen to what he says about the Cain and Abel story. He says, and by the way, as you read this verse, okay, again, the Hebrew here is unintelligible. Okay, I mean, it's really not clear what this means. And the Malbim says, Cain did not understand what God had told him, right? God turns to him and says this abstract stuff. His sin is crouching at the door, and Cain thought that the body and its powers were all there are to being a human being. He's like, look, I'm the second I'm the third human being to ever be, right, or the fourth, and I look at myself and okay, it's me, right? Thus he did not know what God meant when God said sin is crouching at the door to lure him in, and that its desire is for him and that he can overcome it. So Cain is like, what is this thing called sin? I have no idea what this is. And so he assumed, since there was, what else, or let me put it this way, who else is there in the world besides him? Hevel. And by the way, this works in the Hebrew because the Hebrew can mean, and you shall overcome it, meaning sin. But as Jack points out, the word sin, chatat, is feminine, so it should say rovetet, and it should say ve'atatim shel ba. And so the Levush says, Cain thinks that what God is saying to him is that Abel is crouching there at the door, but you can overcome Hevel. And therefore, that is that God was telling him that Abel intended to lure him into the pit, but that Cain had the strength to overcome him. And so why did Cain kill Abel? Because he thought that that's what God was telling him to do. He said, that's what God is telling me to do. He's telling me to kill my brother. And this is a remarkable way of reading the story. And what it is pointing at, just for a second, okay? What it is pointing at is the dangers of interpretation and misinterpretation. Where does the first murder come from? It comes from somebody thinking that they have understood God's word, but they were wrong. And I want to leave us, every rabbi has just a few sermons, so this part you've heard before, I'll say it again, that when you take on a belief in God, the corollary to that, the very next thing is, God is God and I am not. I can believe in the perfection of the Torah, and I can believe very strongly that human beings have no certain idea of what it means. We came up with 3 different doors. It came up with different ideas of sin. And the Malbim is saying that this problem of interpretation, does this sound familiar? People in religion believing that they have God's word and therefore committing violence, right? No, it's an old story, has nothing to do with our world, right? As we begin the Torah again, I bless us with learning, with continuing to learn, continuing to ask, continuing to struggle, and most of all with humility. Most of all with humility that God willing will bring us to the ways of peace. Shabbat shalom.